These gentlemen represent the present for us. They have found out what we have found out, that President Trump is the leader of our nation. There are still restrictions within the state of California that we're living under. We may know about these. There are numerous complaints, numerous issues that we wish we did not. And this is why I asked these gentlemen to come here and speak to what is possibly going to change within our communities, these three cities, that would benefit us, of course, them, and that's very important to know, and share that information with us as best they can. This is really new after the election. However, the dynamics have changed, and it's a good thing. Already we know that there are things happening throughout the world because President Trump is elected. And so at this point, I want to start out. They'll be speaking about 15 to 20 minutes each. You will have some questions. They will not be able to answer all of them because we're under a little time restriction here. After they are finished, Urson Russell will give you his presentation, which you won't want to miss. This mayor I met a few years ago when he was running for city council. Immediately when I met George Chen, he had a way about him that I really liked. He was calm, he was right to the point, and he was conservative. In telling you a little story on how I found him to be very pleasant was when I showed up late to a fundraiser for him at the West End Racket Club. I had to walk the gauntlet. I mean, the gauntlet was not that bad. He was speaking on one side in the air to about 300 people. There was the walking stairway going up that I was the only one walking up. And I thought, how can I get to this meeting without being observed? Not possible. Mayor George Chen said, "Hi, Scott." I said, "Hi, George. Looks like you got a nice crowd here." And I continued on. So this is the type of man that he is in sharing his conventional and his way of relating to all of us. At this time, I'd like to introduce everybody to Mayor George Chen.
Thanks, Scott. Truth be known, I have to correct, maybe about 200, not 300. So thank you for making it look bigger. I know it was kind of packed up there, but first of all, thank you, all of you who are here today. If I ever see you in the public and don't recognize you, forgive me, but do come up and shoulder tap me and introduce yourself, and I'd be happy to say hello. I just want to recognize my wife, Amy, sitting over there, and maybe she could stand up so you can know that without her, I wouldn't be here. She does all the heavy lifting so that I can do this. Okay. And I'm really honored to be here with Mayor Cruikshank and Mayor Uphoff. I think I was looking at the name of this group you have here. It's Torrance, Lameda, Palo, so I don't know if it's ever happened that all three are represented here, and we just happen to be the mayors of our respective cities. And I'm going to go down. I've got something written, so I just want to give fair warning. If there's any questions on Measure TC, I don't want this to be a whole measure about that, but I am more than willing to hold a meeting in my office, and I'll sit as long as you want if there's anything you're not clear about. I just want to make sure, just in case there are people who are still concerned about that. I'll guarantee you, but tonight we probably don't have time to go through that if you still have concerns. Here's just from my point of view. Tuesday night was a great night. I think Amy and I stayed up all night just to make sure that we had enough confidence. And it was one of the few elections. It was kind of good that when you went all the way at night that, and nothing happened to my Trump yard sign. So some people were concerned about my home because I had the yard sign up there, but I think it went okay. And I think America, it was a good evening for the country. I think it's not just for our country. I think it was a good evening for the entire world. Right? Because now, we have not only a safer, better nation, I think we'll have a safer, better world as well. I would say that, now I'm going to bring the context on how I see it in context to the city of Torrance, right? Because President Trump is at the, he's like 30,000 feet at the national level, and then go to state and the city. And as Scott said earlier, we are, unfortunately, we're still the left coast, I'll call it. Even though a lot of the California has changed, but I'm talking about the left side of the coast is still very challenging at this point, and we happen to be one of the cities in the left side. But I would say that on the whole, what I would anticipate with President Trump winning the seat is that the southern border, I'm going to state the obvious ones, the southern border of the illegal entries in the border should improve. Even though I hear that potentially the governor and the attorney general is going to do everything against his policy, but the illegal entries should reduce. The terrorist entries should reduce, and the homelessness challenges should reduce. Not saying it will guarantee, but at least with respect to his policies, if our local government doesn't get in the way, it should help in that way a little bit, okay? Then I'm going to go down to some of the, and then I'll come back, and we can always come back to this other take on this. Measure A, just want to give you a quick heads up on how I see it. Measure A, for those who don't know, it's a measure that was on our ballot that basically repeals Measure H. Think of Measure H as homelessness, and Measure H is going to expire in 2027, and Measure H repeals Measure H. Just give you an idea, about half a percent sales tax that we pay for everything we buy in the city of Torrance, we donate to the county of LA to manage the pool that goes into Measure H homelessness. So that one looks like it's going to win. But if that one wins, what that means to the city of Torrance, and we're still waiting for the analysis, so don't quote me on this, because I asked city staff to do analysis on what it means to the city of Torrance. Our sales tax at this point is 10%. We buy stuff. And the max in the county is 10.25. So if this measure goes through at some point in the future, it automatically bumps us to our max at 10.25. And the extra 25% sales tax goes directly to the county, and then they decide how they're going to manage it with respect to homelessness. Now, there's another way we could do it, and it's not popular as well, is that City of Torrance come up with a measure that takes up to 0.25, and all the sales tax comes to the City of Torrance. I'm just saying, there's a potential in the way. Either way, it's not great, because I don't like sales tax, but if we're going to put a knife in my throat and says this 40% sales tax going to someone else and do whatever they want, I'd rather we have control over that. Just give you a heads up. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. That's my crystal ball of how things are lining up. And at least we want to get ahead of it as a city leadership to see which strategy is best for the city of Torrance, okay? And that's how I see that. Measure G, looks like that one looks like it's ahead right now. And there's some good and some bad of that one. That one I'm not superly clear about every issue. The one that I kind of like in there, the only one I kind of like in there was that potentially expanding the supervisors from 5 seats to 9 seats. And the reason why I like that, I'll share with you, is remember COVID-19? You got one, it's not one size fits all. So imagine if we had, I'll call it a South Bay County supervisor. We have a South Bay Cities Council of Government of 16 cities in the South Bay region, which I believe all 3 of us are in. So imagine we had a supervisor for things like that. So we manage local control. based on our local data and local needs. That's the one area which I potentially see a positive, even though I think a lot of the kinks in there is not really clear. For example, they want an elected CEO, county elected officer. Think of that as the mayor of the county.
That's a good thing.
Then you kind of wonder, well, what does this new county CEO, which is the elected officers, roles and responsibility differ from Mayor Karen Bass? There's just so much overlap. I'm not sure that has all gone through yet, but as of the latest data, it looks like it is ahead. So we just have to do the best on how that comes out. And at the end of the day, I know I don't want to make light of it. Election does have its consequences. So, we get the votes out, then we win. But in this case, Measure G appears to be going through. You guys already know, it looks like Adam Schiff's going to be one of our new U.S. senators. I just that reply. Election has its consequences. He looks like he's going to get the next 6 years, so he'll be the first term as U.S. senator. And once you get in as an incumbent, it's very, very difficult to knock off. So my only summary on that is, in 6 years, we need a strong candidate. Okay. Here's my take on U.S. House, and you guys already know that. It looks like Ted Lieu won again with about 68%, and Maxine Waters at 43%, 43rd district, and she won at 75%. So it looks like they got a headlock on those 2 seats. More of the story again, we need very, very, very strong candidates, even if we want to have a chance, because those are big numbers to overcome. Any candidate who wins with roughly 70% approval is a very, very hard seat to knock off. And I don't know.
It's not fair.
And as I read, what the purposes of this group is for, I would say, please, we need to identify in our pipeline, start developing people who have that talent, who has the interest, who has the passion, who can help fundraise. Because without any of those, it's going to be very hard to knock off an incumbent who's got about a 70% approval every 2 years. Okay. State Assembly. I did a little analysis on this one because that's an interesting one. State Assembly is a seat that's every 2 years. So I went back to 2018 to now. 2018, former Mayor Scotto ran against Almer Tsuchi, and Al got 60% of the votes. 2020, looks like Arthur Schapper ran. Looks like Al has 63%. Okay.
I didn't spend any money, and I got more votes than Scotto did.
It's all right. I'm just reading the data here. I'm not going to make commentary on those. Okay. 2022, looks like Al got 60%, and George Barks was the candidate. And as of today, looks like Al still got about 60%, and the candidate was George Barks. So if I just round off 63 to 60%, Arthur, if you may allow me to, the last 4 elections for 66 Assembly, Al's won with 60% of the votes. It's within striking distance, but it also tells me, if I just do a simple data analysis, is that we also, I'm going to be repeating the same thing, strong candidates who we all could get behind, not just in a room like this, because this is not where the elections won. The elections won outside of rooms and get-togethers like this. Elections are done where we can raise funds for the candidate that we really will stand behind, that we're going to go door knocking, we're going to help, support fundraisers so he or she could get, their word out. A person who could articulate the values. That's what I think the Trump organization did. They articulate the values very clear, and then let the voters decide what happens. But looking at the data, at least the last 4, if you just went down maybe just party line-ish, that Al will always get about 60-something%. The good news is in 2026, he turns out. So it's up to us, isn't it? So if we don't have someone lined up for 2026, I'm gonna say shame on us, right? Because there's no open seat. So there's no claiming of an incumbency now, right? I'm gonna say that should at least knock off, let's say he's been winning 60%, so that should, if I knock off 10%, it should be 50-50 now. So I don't know if it's anyone here, but this is the time to start grooming the candidate of choice that we will all get behind. Not we all half get behind, or we all get behind one person. We can't have the votes divided. Everybody's got to get behind. So that's Assembly District 66. Again, my view of the world. Okay, I'll let them guys chime in later. State Measure 36, we already got that one. That was a high approval rating, right? Basically repeal large portion of Prop 47, so 65%.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big win for all of us. So I think that would be helpful for us. The challenge for us is that though most of that repeal is, we still have a Superior Court judge who decided that we still, in LA County, we still have zero bail. So that is still a challenge. We still have Superior Court judge who can do that. But with the win of Nathan Hochman, at least TBD, we gotta wait till January to see what happens, right, when he takes seat. Because one thing to campaign is another thing to govern, right? And I think we're hopeful, I think most of us probably say anybody but Gascar, but I think we're just hoping that Nathan Hochman at least would be a prosecutor as opposed to a public defender, right?
Hold them accountable, he's a snake.
Yeah. I'm just going to give you some of the things from Measure TC. It looks like Measure TC, which is really Torrance Charter. That's why it was TC. So the electors in the city of Torrance voted to approve Measure TC at roughly 71%. That's a very high approval rate, okay? And I'm just going to give you a few bullets on what that entails. That entails that we are going to set a contract in the future for our city manager and city attorney. They do not have contracts today. It's a very, very weird system we have in the city of Torrance. We're probably one of the few cities that does not have a contract. So if we were not happy with our city manager today, there's a very convoluted process to even see who can fire him, okay? But with this approval, since they are current incumbents, the language allows us that should they want to remain on their current not contract, current term, that they could serve it out as is. But when the new person comes in, they will be working on a contract with the city of Torrance. But should the city attorney and city manager want to get on contract, they could tell us, I want to develop a contract with the city of Torrance. The other thing that's big on the Measure TC was there's also, we have a difficult way how to remove an elected official. Take example of the treasurer we had a few years back. There was no way, even we tried to recall, it was very hard to recall. So at first there was a certain way that language was written, it was cherry picking for the treasurer. I said, no. If we're gonna make a process of removing an elected official, let's make it for all 9 of us. 6 councilmen, 1 mayor, city clerk, and city treasurer. So we all follow by the same process of being removed, okay? If we start not showing up to work, there's a whole slew of things. So the language is the same, so it doesn't look like we're only, cherry picking certain positions. We all have the same rules. And another thing is, once I leave office, I can't automatically be some kind of a, I'll call it consultant, lobbying for the city, right? So this is a revolving door issue. So we had that policy in there. And the one that most people gave us some grief was the compensation of mayor, city of Torrance. That it went from $100 a month, AKA 58 cents an hour, to $16 an hour, okay? And that hasn't been changed in 68 years, so that's the one, okay? So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like I said, I'm open for any discussion after this meeting if you have more confusion. But what I will offer is anytime among us, we are on the same team. If there's any issues like this that you had confusion with and you don't understand, I'm an easy person to get a hold of, right, Scott?
Yes.
more than happy to sit down with you, get 2 hours of time, go over every single item until you understand it completely, as opposed to going on the public where myself and Scott is sitting on a table and we're on opposing positions. That's the last thing we want to do, right? To have two people on the same team going up opposing positions. Can we see the other team ever doing that? No, right? So that's something I want to share with. That's what we need to do. We need to always be on the same team. If we have questions, let's talk among ourselves to clarify it and not openly be on opposing positions. And that really not only looks bad, I think it is bad for the group, right? Measure A. Okay, I already talked about that's the. Okay, let's keep going. (2026) Torrance City election 2022 starts today, right? I mean, just want to let you know for the record, I am a candidate for re-election for mayor city of Torrance. I was already a candidate. I just didn't want to, I didn't want to cause too much noise and we're going up to a general election because I think getting President Trump in is where the main focus should have been. But, just to make sure, and John Kaji already filed for re-election for District 1. I think those are good seats if you want to support us. I know this is like it's not a candidate forum, but I just want to make sure I'm clear. But the issue that this group needs to know is Aurelio is turning out. So he's District 5. So it's 1, 3, and 5. So this is a good time to really have candidates coming out, because with Aurelio turning out with District 5, that's potentially a big hole, right? And I can guarantee you, those who have opposing values with us are already lining up their candidates, okay? And so District 5, I'll call it the Hollywood Riviera, Seaside, that part of South Torrance. And District 3 is currently Assam Sheikh. That's really in the central part of Torrance. Think of the Torrance Civic Center, that area. So he will be an incumbent unless he decides to run for a higher office. Like I shared earlier, with the state assembly seat being turned out, and then the next thing is Ben Allen.
Oh.
Ben Allen, State Senate District 24. He also turns out 2026.
Good.
You see what's happening in 2026?
Yes.
Those of us in our group here, we gotta put our heads together and have a strong strategy. Because with 2 open seats, state senate or state assembly, and we don't have strong candidates that win those seats, I'm gonna say, shame on us, right? At least have a strong candidate. It can't be another 60-40, right? No matter how the results for 2026, it can't be 60-40 again, right? Because we've seen that the last 4 rounds, right? And I think my parting admonishment for our group is, I have appreciated all of you, since I've gotten to know you. Many of you has helped me on previous campaigns, from running city council for city mayors, and I hope that you guys see me transparent, serving you, serving with our colleagues locally, and I just want to say thank you very much. The thing that I want to share with, let's make sure that we lock arms together and work together, because together we could be much stronger. So please, if you identify candidates for certain seats or things you want to do in the city of Torrance, if you want to call me or contact me, don't be afraid that, he's always busy doing this and this. I am always willing to carve out time for our residents, or even non-residents who has questions. I'll always give you an honest answer. It might not be the answer you want to hear, but I will give you an honest and truthful answer. All right? Thank you very much.